What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel and welcome to 2020. I'm super excited about this year, and I wanted to start off with a great video that I know you guys are going to love, and that is showing you the new saltwater aquarium. Now, those of you who've been with the channel know I built my first saltwater aquarium about a year and a half ago. It was 29 gallon, but I had a lot of problems with it. I learned so much that I applied to this tank. So this is the new tank, and I can't wait to jump in and show you everything about it and show you how I still saved a ton of money doing it. Before we get started, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get started. Alright, so the first thing you're probably going to notice is the tank size. That is a little bigger. It feels a lot bigger, honestly, compared to the 29 gallon, but this is a 40 gallon breeder. It's a very standard sized tank. It's not an expensive tank. You get them at Petco, PetSmart, all that stuff. I wanted to go bigger, but again, money wise, once you get into those bigger tanks, it gets more expensive with equipment and things like that. I thought I could do a lot more with 40 gallons than I could with 29, but still keep the cost and space down. So I got this 40 gallon breeder. I actually got it used on Facebook Marketplace for 30 bucks, and it was already drilled. So I got the tank and I didn't have to drill it, so that was fantastic. So that's only 30 bucks on the tank. I built the stand myself. Now this is something I'm really happy with because I've never built a stand before, especially one like this. But it's kind of a farmhouse design stand. To kind of fit with the decor of my house. It's got two sliding doors that open to the sump, which we'll look at in a second. And yeah, like I said, I'd never built anything like this before at all. It looks really good, but honestly, I made a lot of mistakes. You can't really tell, and I learned a lot. And yeah, so you guys can build stuff like that too. So what I started with for the stand was, all I did was build the traditional, fish tank stand that you see all over. How-tos and forums, stuff that you know is sturdy enough for the weight, and then I designed the farmhouse around that. So I'll talk about a few problems with that in a little bit when we go into the sump. So I built my stand, I got my tank, and the next thing to do was to do the plumbing. Now everything this time is hard plumbed versus last time I had that PVC overflow. It was a pain in the butt. I hated it. So I've got the tank plumbed. It goes down into the sump through the bottom and then drains into the sump, and then the pump pumps back out onto that lock line overflow you guys can see in the back. And it just makes it way easier if I need to shut it off, do water changes. I'm not fidgeting with that overflow thing to try and get it started. And again, super cheap. I think all the PVC, including the manifold, which I'll show you guys in a second, maybe 50 to 100 bucks, maybe, if that's including the weir that I built. So let's take a closer look inside the tank to show you. So there's that lock line return, and that's shooting the water back out. That right there is a weir that I built, kind of like an overflow box, that I just ordered a sheet of black acrylic, and I cut the lines at the top, and that is so you don't see the overflow that's in the back. Now this is a Durso style overflow. I decided to go with that. I only had one hole drilled. I decided I didn't want to drill another one, and the best side to go with one hole with the Durso overflow. You can see one of the crabs somehow snuck back in there. So that goes down to the bottom of the tank. Now let's take a look down at the bottom. So these slide open. So one thing you'll notice right off the bat is there's not a lot of space down here, and that is one of the drawbacks that I didn't really account for, but I made it work. So initially the sump was going to be turned this way. Now it's turned long ways, which is good for space. It's a little more difficult to manage, but it works really well. So that Dursa overflow comes down, it comes through there, and then it comes out to this gate valve right here, so I can shut the water coming off in, and then it goes down into the water. Which makes it a lot quieter than if it was splashing into the water or splashing into the filter socks. It then overflows into the filter socks, rather than the last pipe went straight into one. It was a pain to change. So I can easily just pull these filter socks out and replace them and put them back in really easily. Then there's a middle compartment, which is not yet done. Right now I'm just running some macroalgae, some Chando, but it'll probably be where the skimmer goes. It's also where the heater is down there, and the return pump. Now the return pump goes up and it actually has a split, and this is where I put my manifold. So this is just 2 extra gate valves that I can use for whatever I want. And I'll talk about that in a little bit when I talk about future upgrades to the tank. And then it goes through the back and up the side where I have another valve so I can control the flow coming into the tank. Goes over and back into that lock line. And that is the cycle for the water flow. Now on the inside for flow, I'm running 3 Hydor Corellia Nanos. These 2 are from the last tank. I cleaned them off really good, soaked them in muriatic acid, and put them back in the tank. And then I added one in the back as well. The 2 on the side are being controlled by this wave maker, so it alternates them. Right now, every minute, one goes off and the other one comes on. That's just creating my flow pattern. So that's all I'm using for flow in the tank, plus that return valve, creating that water movement, which is really good. With all that water movement, I am using a glass top to kind of curb evaporation. This is just the aquarium 40-gallon breeder top. Super convenient, easy to use, I love it. Got it on Facebook Marketplace for like 20 bucks brand new. So you guys always need to be looking out for these deals. Now for the rock inside, I did go with brand new rock. I did not want to remove the rock from the last tank and risk bringing something in, but I bought the same rock. So all the rock you see in the tank, with the exception of that one piece, was $50. That's right, like I said, you can do this on a budget. If you go on Amazon, I'll leave a link down below, but you can get dry rock for about $1 a pound, and that's what I did. And then I just picked up a few extra pieces like that one, and I think one other from my local fish store, which is a little more expensive, but they're smaller pieces, to kind of create my artwork. So I've got some caves right in here, kind of a little island. Then I've got a rockway going through, and then another one right there. And so that's pretty much the inside of the tank. You can see I put a few corals in there. I have had some issues, so I'm kind of testing the water. The A-cans back there have done fantastic. Those were the first things I put in the tank. I just added this hammer coral to kind of see how it does. And then these zoas are starting to open up as well, and then there's a lobo. But unfortunately, one thing you will notice is I don't have any fish in the tank. And that is an unknown as to why I don't have any fish in the tank. So initially, I started up the tank, I cycled it, and I put my 2 clownfish in the tank. The 2 from my first 2 fish I ever got for saltwater. I still had them, they were doing great. They were in quarantine from the other tank, and I brought them in. They did fine for 3 months, no issue. Even the 6-line wrasse that I moved over did just fine. Eating fine, no issues, anything like that. And then I added a flame angel, actually. I wanted to take the chance that it wouldn't eat my coral, and I added a flame angel. It's one of my favorite fish. He did fine for a few weeks. Eating, everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, within 4 days, I started to lose fish. I lost the flame angel, then I lost 6-line wrasse, then I lost 1 clown, and then I lost the other clown. All of a sudden. All the coral are fine. They're still doing fine. They're growing happy and healthy, even when the fish were dying off. So I'm not sure what happened there. It's really devastating to lose all your fish and not to know why. I'd almost rather know why it was something I did wrong than to not know, because I'm really hesitant for putting new fish in there. It's been about a month and a half, 2 months since they died, so I think I'm getting close to being ready to put new fish in there. So if you guys have any suggestions of what you want to see in here, I've got a fresh tank to start with, so let me know in the comments down below. But overall, the tank I think is doing well. I have a little bit of algae issue right now. I lost some of my cleanup crew too when that death kind of happened, so it's a little dirty right now, but those are really the only 2 issues I've run into so far, is the no fish death and then some diatom brown gross algae. But that's with every new tank you start, you're going to get that gross brown algae, and you just got to deal with it as the tank is still cycling even after it's cycled. It takes a long time to get a tank really established, and that's something I learned with my last tank. So let's kind of take a look down below and see what's going on down below. So like I showed you guys, there's the sump, and there's a lot of controllability with it and ease of changing the filter sock, which I really wanted. My last tank, it was so hard to change the filter socks, it just was a pain, and I didn't want to do it. Now it's super easy, I can really quickly do it. The wire management is still a work in progress, but it's way better than the last tank. So if you actually look, this panel right here slides back, and I can manage my cords. I'm just still in the process of getting everything wired up, but I am running an auto top off, and then I've got my auto top off reservoir right there. Again, reservoir and pump I think was 70 bucks together on Facebook Marketplace. Fantastic. You gotta get in your groups, look around. And then I showed you guys the wave maker is mounted up here. I've got my titanium heater in there. Again, discount Facebook Marketplace. And then I've just got a power strip. Right now what's plugged into the power strip is my lights up front top, which I'll talk about in a second because they have their own timers. And then the heater is also plugged into that power strip. No, I lied to you. The heater is not plugged in the power strip. So one thing I added to this tank right up here is this ADJ power bar, and it's basically a fancy power strip, but I can turn everything on and off up here. And it's got a surge protector, it's got fuses and stuff. It's really easy to use. It's mounted high up, so water is not really going to get to it. And I just have a lot of controllability if I need to turn something off. I can just flip a switch rather than trying to unplug everything, and everything is in there. So that's kind of what's working underneath the tank. And then when I don't want to see everything, I just slide these doors back and it's gone. I've got some cabinets on the side where I can store equipment, or you can put, you know, anything you want to put in there. But yeah, so the next step for this tank is going to be what I'm going to add. The first thing is going to be this reactor right here, which I am turning into a macro algae reactor. So I want to get the Chaeto out of that compartment and into this thing. This is a Geo's Reef, actually calc stir, that I got for 80 bucks on one of my local groups, and I'm turning it into a macro algae reactor. So then that's actually going to sit over here. You can't see this stuff, so since I have limited space in the tank and under the tank, it's going to go over here. The other thing I need to add is a skimmer, which I've got one. I'm just in the process of figuring out how to match it up. I recently picked up for Christmas a dosing pump as well, so I'm excited to start using that. But yeah, this is definitely a learning process for me. I've never had a tank this big or this kind of intricate, but I basically just did that first tank, applied everything I learned and did wrong to this tank. I'm already learning and doing stuff wrong in this tank, but I'll apply that to my next tank. So I'm super happy with the way it turns out, the way it looks. Oh, lights, sorry. I didn't talk about the lights yet. So that's probably the only expensive part about this tank are the lights. Now these are two Aqua Illumination HD Primes. They are fantastic for the price. When I got them, they were about $200 a piece. They don't make these anymore. They just upgraded, so they're about $170, I think. And for the price, they are fantastic. The corals, love them. As you know, before I was doing black box before, which works great, but I really wanted to upgrade the light because that is super important for the corals. And the controllability with these things with the app is fantastic. I can have all these different settings. I can import settings from other users that have had good luck, and it's just really easy to use. They're actually smaller than this. I actually 3D printed these light shields to kind of direct the light and diffuse it down into the tank. I got a 3D printer for Christmas, and I have been using it like crazy. I'm going to show you guys some stuff later on in the future. But yeah, that is the new tank. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about anything on the tank, make sure to leave them in the comments below. I will get back to you. I will post videos, obviously, as I do stuff on this tank and the kind of the progression of this tank from now on. I'm going to do a video in a little bit about how I do my maintenance on this tank and my water changes, cleaning the filter socks and things like that, as well as adding new fish, coral, and things like that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys hopefully next week.